Alright, so this time we're looking at handling tables. You'll notice in Word that little gray line around the text. This is the table, and at the top left you have that little handle thing. It just allows you to select the whole table and move it around, but we won't need to do that. Now in that old version of Word there's a table menu where you can see hide grid lines, show grid lines. When I click on the hide grid lines, it made the grid lines disappear, and lo and behold, it show grid lines and the lines appear again. Magic. Now let's see how we can select stuff in there. You can click and drag. It's going to select a line, or you can go to the margins to select a line. Notice the cursor. Okay, notice the mouse. When it's really close in the inside, it's a black arrow which only selects one cell. On the outside, selects a whole line. If I click anywhere else, it's just like a normal cursor moving around. Double click, triple click, selects a word, a line. Drag around, selects a whole bunch of things. I'm trying to get you nauseous. I hope it's working. Okay, I select a row. And then there's this function here where I can go row above, row below, or then columns to the left and right. These have been moved around in newer versions, but you can always use the right click menu to add more. Now what I'm doing is I did add a row, and with Control Y, I repeated that. Now I'm doing undo, which is Control Z, if you want the shortcut. Alright, so how do you handle height and width? Well, you can always add enter, enter, enter to make a row higher, and I think it's a good way because see that cursor when I hover the line? It allows you to move the height around. When you go down, it's easy, but when you go up, you're limited by the cursor height. So I'm trying to pull it up, but it just goes back down because the cursor is like 12 point right now of a big font, and it's just not going to make the line smaller no matter how I try to squeeze it. But for the column, it's much easier, and there's really no other way than to move that around using that cursor there when you're really hovering over the line. You got to make sure you're right there, otherwise your cursor is not in the right shape and it's not going to respond like what you want. You can select a column from the top. As you see, you need to wait for the black arrow. And now, if you select a whole column and move it around, it's just going to do the same thing. But if I just have one cell selected, notice the split. Notice that the top row is almost in the middle while the rest hasn't moved around. Now, if I select a different row again, then you have a triple split. See? It's very noticeable. But now when I select the whole column, only one thing moves at the time because they're not aligned, and it's just painful to work with that. So you got to make sure to always keep your columns aligned. So now I'm just hitting Control Z to do undo and go back to where I was before. Now if you notice that smooth thing, it was a Control scroll wheel that allowed me to show you a typical problem with the resume templates. And it's about tables overlapping on two pages. And to make it more obvious, I'm just going to add some text at the top. I can't write at the top of that. Technical skills section is split. So I'll need some place to click in, which requires me to add rows at the top. So rows above, insert rows above, right click, and you'll find that usually in the New Word version. And what I do is I move those bullets to that cell at the bottom. Well, actually at the top of page 2. I just move those bullets from that overlapping cell to a new cell. And now I copy in the left column, I copy the title, and I just add continued just to show what's going on here. So for the reader, when he's on page 2, he'll know what we're discussing. I make it a bit smaller so it looks nice. And now I have a nice resume that is flowing over the 2 pages really well. And at this point, you can already feel it working. Oh, except for that little weird white gap. To correct that, we'll have to bring the contact information at the top. So we'll be inserting rows above that, copy and pasting the format so that they're all the same size. And now I'm going to show you how to play with fire, the merge cells function right there. That thing is, oh my, a disaster waiting to happen, but it's the only way you're going to make that contact information fit on fewer rows and just on 3 lines. That's really nice. Problem with merge cells is that when you're starting to add rows, delete rows, change the column width and stuff like that, it can really be painful. But when you're done with your formatting, or almost, it's not too bad to do that. But don't merge cells all over your tables because it's really going to hurt you down the line. Okay, so you have a couple of bullets. At the top of the second page, we'll just delete some extra rows we had on the first page. Everything fits together. You have a resume ready to rock the Casbah.